man, while incredibly talented and extremely knowledgeable, did not listen to me at all. Howdy friends, my name is Courtney Diamond, and today I want to discuss with you my journey through vocal training and each different type of teacher that I had, and tell you the impact that they had on me, both positive and negative. I began my vocal training in 6th grade because my family noticed that I kind of sang nonstop, and they thought that I might actually be able to pursue it a little bit more seriously. And I'm eternally grateful that my parents and my family recognized and supported me in that. My first vocal teacher was someone that came highly recommended by the rest of the community. She taught tons of kids and teens in our area, specifically a lot of people that I went to school with. And she was honestly the perfect first teacher. We began lessons with learning how to breathe, which blew my mind at the time and honestly still does when I think about it. She tested my range and concluded that because I sang in my chest voice most of the time, I must be a mezzo-soprano or belter. We began working out of the very famous Singers Musical Theater Anthology, Volume 4, and thus became my introduction to musical theater. One of the first songs that I learned was actually Popular from Wicked. I know, cringe, so basic, but it was really fun for me, and I didn't even know what Wicked was at the time, so I just thought it was a fun song that I didn't relate to at all, but it was fun. And my teacher helped me get into character for that song, and I learned more about the performance aspect of singing as well as supporting my notes. At Christmas, I performed in my very first recital, and I sang Faith Hill's Where Are You Christmas from one of my favorite movies, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey version. I've been obsessed with that movie since I was like 6 or 7 when it came out, and singing that song in a recital was awesome. I ended up staying with this teacher until my junior year of high school, so 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 5.5, almost 6 years. Once I figured out that I wasn't really learning anything anymore, I was just kind of going to lessons and singing through songs, but I wasn't growing or improving, I decided to stop. My second vocal teacher I was only with for a couple of weeks, and for good reason, which I will explain. I started lessons with him just a couple of weeks after I left my first vocal teacher, and it was not a good experience for me. This man, while incredibly talented and extremely knowledgeable, did not listen to me at all. You see, in the previous couple of years, my vocal range had expanded a ton to the point where I now sang in the soprano section at school. But when I started lessons with this new teacher, I started them because I wanted to learn how to get more support out of my belting notes, because my goal at the time was to be a country singer, and you don't sing in soprano land when you're a country singer unless you're Alison Krauss, and there's one of her and the market is saturated, right? We're done. We don't need anything other than Alison Krauss. I told him over and over and over what my goals and my dreams were, and he straight up refused to listen to me. He said that he knew best and that I was a soprano and therefore I would be trained in opera. Well, this really ground my gears, you know what I mean? Because these lessons were substantially more expensive than my family was paying for the lessons before, and I wasn't getting to do what I wanted. I didn't want to be an opera singer. I wanted to be a country singer. I went to him for a couple more weeks, and at every lesson, I tried so hard to make him understand what I wanted, and he never gave me the time of day. So I left, and I ended up going without a vocal teacher for the remainder of high school. When I was admitted to a musical theater program at university after I graduated high school, I was assigned to one of the voice professors within the department. And if I'm being honest, I think this is where I really took a turn with my vocal training. I noticed a real difference in the first few lessons with him. It was amazing. I felt so great, and I felt like I was really getting better. Funnily enough, by the time I graduated high school, I had abandoned my dream of becoming a country singer and had resigned myself to the fact that I did, in fact, sound my best when I sang in soprano land. So in my lessons at university, I did work on my upper range. This teacher, however, listened to me, supported me. He gave way to my emotions and my preferences. He really cared what I felt and what I wanted out of these lessons. I felt supported and like I was really growing as a vocalist. I learned to sing even higher than I could sing before, and how to really make those upper notes ring using my vibrato. The most memorable piece that I learned, and probably one of the most vivid memories from my time at university, was learning How Could I Ever Know from The Secret Garden. It was a very emotional piece that resonated a lot with me as I was dealing with the grief of losing my dad. I went on to sing that piece at many an audition, and I remember vividly singing it in its entirety at a lesson, and it was probably one of the most emotional sounding performances that I'd ever given, and it was just in a lesson. I ended up leaving university after a year, but funnily enough, about 3 years later in 2017, I reunited with my voice teacher because we were both selected as a part of the St. Louis Symphony Chorus, and I got to see him again and tell him how much impact he'd had on me, and it was awesome. I'm really grateful for that third vocal teacher. After university, I ended up attending community college, where I was lucky and blessed enough to be able to work with two incredible women in my vocal training. The first one is the woman who offered me the full ride scholarship to community college. And again, I will literally never be able to repay her for that and all that it has given me in my life. She and I became extremely close during our weekly lessons, and I just remember having so much fun with her. She was more of a friend than a teacher, and we spent lessons just laughing, and we had inside jokes, and it was a really beautiful relationship that I had with her. And by this time, I was extremely solidified in my upper range, and I was working on expanding it even more to singing far above where anyone needs to sing, but just for fun. I sang a lot of Italian and foreign language pieces, and we even touched on a little bit of Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff, specifically from like South Pacific, and it was just a really fun time, and I loved having her as my vocal instructor. My second year of community college, I worked with what would be my final vocal instructor. I would say that this woman, of all of my vocal teachers, probably had the biggest impact on me as a person and as a singer. She pushed me more than any other teacher that I ever had. She believed in me, she told me what I could do, and then I freaking did it just because she said I could. She was strict but kind, and I always left my lessons feeling exhausted, but with like the biggest sense of accomplishment, because at every lesson I conquered something new that I had no idea I had in me. She took more of a guiding hand approach in terms of encouraging me to pursue things after I left community college. She told me that she really thought I had what it took to be a professional classical singer. I was flabbergasted, and I do not use that word often. After not being encouraged at all through high school and told that I could do anything with my voice, to have somebody that I loved and admired so much tell me that they believed I could do something, it meant more to me than anything in the world. I still think about the moment when she told me that. I worked on my most difficult pieces to date in these lessons, and even started singing some things from operettas. It was very challenging work, and I still remember the first time that I ever did an operatic piece. I was in shock at just how much my voice had changed and progressed in just a few months with her. I posted a video on Facebook of my first workshop class, and at community college, all of the vocal scholarship students had to perform for one another, and we would do like a workshop with the professor, and that was something that we did every single week. So I performed an operatic piece and I put it on Facebook, and the feedback was insane. The piece that I sang was called Poor Wandering One, and it's from Pirates of Penzance, an operetta, obviously. People came crawling out of the woodwork on my social media to tell me that I should be an opera singer. And not just people that like know and love me and were like encouraging, like, go Courtney, but like actual opera singers were like, whoa, dude, you have some seriously great stuff going on here. You should really consider doing this full time and do this as a career. Learning and conquering these pieces is 100% what shaped me and the rest of my school career, where I ended up minoring in vocal performance. And I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes have a lot of regrets about not pursuing a full vocal performance major, but what can you do? I can't be more thankful for all that this teacher gave me and how much she believed in me. And I still try to see her fairly often, a couple of times a year, and I always tell her that I love her. And I do. Well, that ends my journey with vocal training for now. I do have plans to get back into vocal training fairly soon as my schedule and finances allow. I wanted to share this journey because I wanted everybody to know that not all vocal teachers are the same. They're not all going to do the same warm-ups. They're not all going to teach you the same techniques. You're going to go to different vocal teachers throughout your life possibly and learn a ton of different things from all of them. And sometimes it's not a fit either. We saw that with my second vocal teacher. It wasn't a fit, and that's okay. It's not always a fit. It also shows you how much you can change between vocal teachers. You can tell how much my range changed from when I almost said diagnosed, from when I was set up as a mezzo-soprano / belter to now being basically a lyric soprano singing way above the staff. That changed from 6th grade to college. So your voice is going to change, you're going to change, and it's okay if your teacher changes as well. It's really important to have a vocal instructor that makes you feel at home and at ease and supported and loved. And soon we're going to discuss some specific attributes that you really need to be looking for when you're looking for vocal teachers. I hope that this video is helpful for recognizing the different styles and different scenarios of vocal teaching, and I'll talk to you soon.